man in the house. Who is he? Yeah. Everyone, mutton fry, chicken fry, bheja fry, anda fry, and chili fry. And I'm gonna try my best to get you on stage. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for welcoming me. This evening has been an astonishing lesson already in almost Germanic efficiency of what a well-oiled machine it's been. It's just typical Indian class. It's brilliant. A magnificent bubbling cauldron of excitement. And I have to say, as a gay man who has been to many, many gay events in my life, all around the world, I have never been to one in which there has been not just 50-50, but probably 70-30 women to men participation. In Britain, you'd be lucky if it was 90-10. And it's fantastic to think that in India, a country in which women are said, and perhaps rightly said, to not to have achieved their full status, not to have risen to their proper status. Here, at least in the gay community, they are fully recognised. And they are, indeed, it might be said, the prime movers of this fantastic evening. Only in India would you have the most important gay evening to take place on the subcontinent, and cricket will be showing on the television. And despite Saurabh Pant, I suspect that most of you think that it's Budwas. It's not really your kind of thing. I happen to love it, as a matter of fact, and Pakistan is doing rather well. It's probably rather depressing for all of you. It is usual for a British person, and by the way, I feel I ought to point this out to the three wise men. It was nearly 70 years ago that the British Raj was dismantled, the hated colonial rule of the British here, and you still left something behind. Yeah. Unbelievable. You took down the statue of Queen Victoria on the station. You managed to get rid of almost everything else. You even managed to get rid of Code 377. How about that? Well, there are people repealing it. It's still gone. It's traditional for British people to apologise and to say, I'm really most awfully sorry for the Raj. But I'm not going to do that. And there's a very good reason. I wasn't fucking there. It's not my fault. You know, it was 100 years before I was born. And it was at least 11 years after I was born that you took over and have done a magnificent job, if I may say so, of running the world's largest democracy. You may wonder why I'm here, and the answer is that I'm making with my fellow BBC crew, who you will have noticed knocking over drinks and things like that with their sweeping camera moves. I am here because it's part of a documentary I'm making about being gay around the world. I've been to the United States of America, I've been to Brazil, I've been to, obviously, my own home country, United Kingdom, I've been to Uganda, and I'm going next week to Russia. Now, what, you may think, have I concluded about India? Yeah. What am I taking away tonight? In fact, my flight back home, sadly. I shall carry you in my heart forever. You are such an easy lay. It's a very extraordinary thing. Everybody has told me, young, wonderful Harish here, whom I had a long interview with last night, and others whom I've spoken to, who are probably in the room, they've told me how important family is here, how extraordinarily important, how difficult it is to come out, not because your parents are actually disgusted by homosexuality, but because they're slightly embarrassed about what they're going to tell Mrs. Patel next door, and because procreation is the great big thing. Please give me grandchildren. Please give me grandchildren. But once they get over that, they're more interested, if you're going to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, depending on their sexuality, that they're a doctor or they've got a really good job. And if they have, then it's fine. And I have to tell you, that is the most balanced and sane response that I've come across. And it may be that being gay is not necessarily an Indian way of looking at the world, that everything is flux and movement, and no one is any single thing, and everything is to be looked at through the long, long lens of a history that will continue thousands of years after we have gone and we've been reborn and gone and born again, and even new deities, new versions of Shiva, but Velcro and other versions of Shiva will be born and go and so on. But nonetheless, it seems apparent to me that this is one of the most comfortable countries in which to be gay, especially, of course, and this is your duty, especially if you are educated, English-speaking, middle class. Let's be honest, it's easier for you than it is for the hijra in the slum. And therefore, I should imagine that you are all as excited in the years to come about the challenges that face you as representatives of highly successful, fully functioning, happy, balanced people who are proud to be who you are, in pushing that out into the suburbs, into the rural areas, to make it really count. Wouldn't that be exciting? I think so. Meanwhile, I brought this. You're probably wondering why I've got this iPad here. Yeah. It's because I thought it was dirty talk, and I better. There's only one Indian joke that I know it's told in Britain. What do you call an Indian lesbian? Minjita. You have to know the word minge. All right, minge means trash means minjita. All right. Okay. Anyway, so I went to a site to try. What you have to do is try and tell how good my accent is, because of course I can't speak Gujarati or Hindi. But there's some very interesting sites to tell you how to swear in these languages, which, let's face it, are basically the same. I mean, to be perfectly honest, to say I don't speak Hindi, I only speak Gujarati. It's complete drivel, as far as I can tell. But so we have things like, obviously, lund chus. Well, good, that obviously made sense. Merachuni chus. Good. Suck my clit. It's not often you get to say that in public. Very lund chus, merachus maro. Yeah. Ram kapati. Ja apni baja. This is a rather odd one. Maybe it's a practice that's very popular in Gujarat. Gand mein lasan. Garlic in us. This just seems to be a random list of odd words, but anyway. Chinal ke gade ke nipple, ke bal ke June. Prostitute's breasts, nipple, hair lights. Apni marco ja chus. Apni gand mein muti dal. That would be good trick if you could do it. And then, of course, obviously, as in so many cultures, there's all the ones that begin with Teri Ma. Teri Ma Gandhi Rundi. It's rather a shock to Englishmen that Gandhi means prostitute. Because we always thought he was the founder of your democracy. It's a whole new way of looking at the Mahatma. Anyway, there we are. Terima gada kalut chuse. Your mother sucks donkey dick, is that correct? Good, yep, there we are. Oh dear. Well, this is very, very normal, really. Terima ki chut teri bakalan. Terima di kusi me tera sara kandan ugusa keratunga. If this is a genuine Hindi or Gujarati curse, then there is something that you need to have a national conversation, because you are an odd people. This is a Terima ki gan ki bal menjale hue mare hue kili ki unday. There are burnt dead lizard eggs in the hair around your mother's arse. Why would you say that? Is this the sort of thing that I've been hearing as a tuk-tuk is overtaken by a taxi. It's very interesting. Well, there's Tormai Kechodo, back in your mother's room. Terimat Usau Kute Chode, Sawatera Ba. Teribadigant which Danda Gusa Kerak Dunga. Rundi Tik-Tak, Rundi Kitati, Be Batnewali Maki. Something about fly sitting on the arse of a whore. Well, it is said you can judge a civilization by the way it treats its prisoners, by the way it treats its poor, and by the way it swears. I don't know what it says about India. You have an extraordinary obsession with your mothers and the things that may or may not be put up with. One of the things I like to say when asked, because there are in Britain homophobic people, as there are in America, as there are in Brazil, and of course as I'm sure there are in India, who will insist that somehow one's sexual orientation, one's preference is a choice rather than something that was known instinctively since one was born. And I always say, well, you say that, but I remember being born and looking back up at my mother and saying, that's the last time I'm going up one of those. And I have stuck to that promise. Girls, on the other hand, look up and say, that was fun, I must do that again. I remember the story, which may or may not enliven you, but I have to go catch my plane now. There's women and men in England. One of the things, again, which really upsets a lot of people, is this idea that anal sex is entirely the province of the gay man. In fact, if you looked up anal sex on Google, the first 2 million pages would return pictures of women being obliged up the bottom, and because there are just so much more straight men than there are gay men, and a lot of straight men prefer to use that channel of communication. So, for example, I had to speak to these extraordinary pastors in Uganda. There's one who goes, you know what these men are doing? It is already poo-poo. Look it up on YouTube. It's a very famous thing. Pastor, something exactly. The poo-poo. He's going on about the poo-poo. And you try and tell him, well, if you're obsessed with anal sex and it's wrong, then your first task is to tell heterosexual men to stop it, because that's far and away the majority. And the story that illustrates this is a man who, a woman who was told her father that she was engaged, and he was very excited. It was to a sailor, and he said, "Well, I'm very excited." He said, "It's lovely. He's a lovely fellow, Jack." He said, "But he is a sailor, and I know what sailors are. And the day will come when he will say to you, 'Darling, shall we try it the other way?' And I'm not going to have that done to my girl. I'm sorry, I'm not. So you can marry him, and all is fun. If he ever suggests doing it the other way, well, you come to me, and I'll arrange a divorce. All right?" She says, "Okay, Dad." And they get married. It's a very happy marriage. And after about 2 years, she thinks, well, he's never suggested doing it the other way. And I promised Dad that if he did, I would go to him, but I never said anything about me suggesting it. So one night she says to her husband, she says, "Jack," he says, "Yeah." She says, "Why don't we try it the other way?" And he says, "What, fill the house with kids? You must be joking." There you see. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. It's been extraordinarily pleasurable being in India. I can't tell you how excited I am to see this remarkable evening. And I wish you the very best success, and I congratulate you on this huge turnout. It's fabulous.